I'm sure you knew this day would inevitably come. It's time to talk about salad fingers. Now, salad fingers is another one of those horrific creations that is intended to be as disturbing as the image you're about to conjure up of your dad fisting your mum on a bed of upturned dildos. Why did I do that to myself? But we still think it deserves an inclusion in the overall canon of nightmare fuelism. Salad Fingers is a fucked up animation created by the demented subhuman David Firth, who is also responsible for other catchy titles such as Burnt Face Man, Jerry Jackson, and one particularly dark and twisted brainfuck called Valentine's Day Special. If you've seen that one, I do apologise. We follow our hero of the story, Salad Fingers, and he has a variety of surreal and hallucinatory experiences, such as finding rusty spoons to scrape against his salad fingers, collecting nettles to rub on his chest to make him lactate, and of course, eating himself. There's no real narrative of such, just some lettuce of a human that makes you question all previous ideas of quality, storytelling, and human decency. I mean, just look at him. He is weird, and he sounds like a British Michael Jackson.
Hello there, chaps.
Which is horrifying enough. The creepiness seems to exponentially increase with each passing episode. The second in the running order sees Salad Fingers having a dinner party with 3 finger puppets. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? Right? It's fucking not, pal. It's foul. After cooking his singular fish in an oven for a bit, he calls out for help from a passing boy and asks him to get the fish out the back of the oven. The kid goes into the oven and Salad Fingers accidentally closes the door because he's distracted by a sharp, rusty hook which he has to stab through his finger. I am not making this up. He passes out and dreams of being in a meat locker with all the meat hooks that his weird little heart desires. But then he wakes back up and he doesn't realise that he's cooked the little boy alive, who he then just serves up to his guests. Now, if that doesn't make you horny, I do not know what will. He also does all this creepy shit where he tastes the various finger puppets and swirls them around on his tongue, making these gross ASMR saliva sounds. It's honestly terrifying. The first one was out in 2004, and I think I watched it when I was about 14 years old and going through puberty. There was enough confusion at that time in my life as is, and my therapist now wonders why I can't masturbate without a cabbage leaf wrapped around my cock. It's because of this, doctor. It's because of this. It's the grim details for me. Like in episode 3, Salad Fingers is traversing a nightmarescape of dead trees and nettles, and he happens to come across a perambulator. That's the pretentious word for pram for the pricks among us. When he goes to put the stinging nettles in the pram, or as he calls it, the nettle carrier, because it carries his nettles, and when he draws back the blanket of the pram, it reveals just this tiny but completely fucking disturbing splattering of blood along the sides of it, not to mention the sewed up area and some urine stains along the back of it. Like, who has that much morbid attention to detail? Who looks at the pram and goes, this isn't quite fucked up enough, let's imagine a baby's been discreetly fucking murdered in it. But the most disturbing episode for me is episode 6, fucking classic. It's called Present. In it, Salad Fingers is chilling out with his finger puppet Jeremy Fisher like an absolute deviant. The puppet's like, got you a present, and hands him this toy horse. So Sally Fingers eats the puppet. Fine, no problem. It's weird, but by episode 6 you're largely numb to this sort of thing by now. Sally fiddles with the horse, chats to a toilet outside with the now standard specks of blood around the rim, and has an argument with the toilet before he heads back to his house where he sees another version of himself. There's cross wires between the two, and the second version of Salad Fingers appears to think that the original Salad Fingers is actually Jeremy Fisher, his finger puppet. They argue briefly, and then the second version starts eating the decapitated head of the first version, with blood spilling down the side of his pale face. Now, the term "what in the name of fucked up disgusting shithousery is this thoroughly disturbing bollocks" is thrown around an awful lot these days, but in this case I do have to say, what in the name of fucked up disgusting shithousery is this thoroughly disturbing bollocks? This show is intended to make you feel uncomfortable, but it's strangely addictive. Not as strange as the addiction of that woman who liked to eat her dead husband's ashes, but that's for another edition of Nightmare Fuel because, oh my god, you just can't look away. From the eerie music lazily playing in the background to the crude, surreal animation, every aspect of this show is majorly fucked. There are a bunch of episodes in the archives here, and you've just got to go through them and watch them all because they are fucking mental. And when you do, I would genuinely love to hear from you. What are the weirdest, most nightmare-fueling moments from Salad Fingers that you saw? Or what are the strangest from our selection, and what bits gave you the most nightmares? Please do do let me know in the comment below after you've liked and shared and maybe subscribed, because that helps us out. But in the meantime, I've been Stuart from Unleash the Ghouls, and until next time, good night and sweet nightmare-fueled dreams.